And boy, do we have some things to talk about today. Jake Riepma, Natalie, Kerwin, and Bradford Banta. Natalie, Kerwin, the Lions have their offensive coordinator.
They do, and it's a name that we didn't even talk about amongst the 7 other candidates. So I'm a little baffled. I think you guys are too. We'll get into it. Bradford, what say you?
I'd say that Lions fans want the same offense, more points, fewer punts, and 0 growing pains. So Drew Petzing, no pressure. We just want perfection.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
Indeed, it does. The Locked On Lions Squad Show on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. Jake Riepma alongside Natalie Kerwin and Bradford Banta. The national championship was yesterday. A crazy weekend of playoff football, and somebody with the ADHD like myself is just going a million miles an hour. So I'm going to take a deep breath. We're going to buckle up. We're going to dial it in. We've got Drew Petzing to talk about. We've got Kory Woods from MLive, a Lions beat reporter, joining the show as we continue with our off-season guest list that just continues to grow and grow and grow. I mean, we set the bar pretty low starting out with Rieger. So obviously it's all uphill from here. No, we're kidding, Rieger. I know you're a big fan and tuning in all the time. But if you are watching live, go ahead and check on in. Fire up that comment section. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know your instant reaction to the Lions' new offensive coordinator. But most importantly, if you missed today's live show, you can catch the audio version anywhere you get your podcast on the #1 sports podcast platform. Natalie Kerwin, I kick it to you first. You know we got to get a Pistons update in here. They win again on Martin Luther King Day. Bradford Banta, we're going to go to you for some national championship chatter. The Indiana Hoosiers are on top of the college football world. And this is one of the most Hoosiers.
I know.
Exciting off-season episodes we've had in a while.
I was going to say, yes, I'll give my Pistons some love, but because last night was incredible, obviously. I mean, it was a close game against the Boston Celtics, #1 versus #2. It wasn't even on our network. It was on Peacock because of how big of a game it was. I know, but I'm glad it got the national love. It deserves that, and it was a great game. And you know, MLK Day, so much going on, and I still was there as a fan, so it was nice to just take it in, not being on the sidelines and actually just enjoying it from the stands, just as a different perspective. But it was great. The team just keeps on rolling, and I don't know, there's just no signs of them slowing down, you guys. It's hard to put it into words, but this team has incredible depth, and this bench unit is built different. Like, you can go up and down that whole roster, and a different guy every night is going to show out. I swear. And it's awesome to see. So go Pistons. And I don't know. I'm excited. I'm traveling with them today. After our podcast, I'm hopping on a plane to New Orleans. So they're playing the Pelicans tomorrow. So I'm pumped.
Get those miles, Nat. Get the miles. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So we're having a good month and a good start to 2026 for that team. So all is well in the Detroit basketball world.
Detroit. No doubt. Yeah.
How about the Natty? Come on. Yesterday, I am a huge Fernando Mendoza lover.
Yeah.
I really am. I can't help but love that guy.
Can't you, though? I mean, look, the kid came and he performed. And I tell you what, I don't know if he gives more eye contact to the reporter that he's talking with or more eye contact to the TV camera whenever he's speaking. And I tell you, man, you know, with everything being said, I mean, it was I don't know about y'all, but to me, it was a surprise visit by President Trump showing up at the game. You know, they just panned up there during the national anthem and he's sitting there, you know, giving his presidential wave and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought it was interesting, but what a whale of a game. It went down to really the last minute of the game whenever Carson Beck threw the interception. And that's when the game was sealed. And it truly wasn't sealed because of where they had the personal foul for the unsportsmanlike conduct on number 22 who got the interception. So that moved it back. half the distance to the goal line, and then they had to take a knee, and the second knee that they took, they had to actually do a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
So, which was oh my gosh. So, I mean, we're sitting there, you're watching the game last night, and it was fun football to watch. And I would say that Hoosier Nation was very well represented, as pointed out by the broadcasters at the Orange Bowl, at Hard Rock Stadium last night.
For sure. And as we mix in some of these comments as we get going here, one of our guy, Mastrovi is checking in from Dallas, Texas. Shout out to him. We might be the only Lions fans down here, which in the same token, where I was last night, as comments just alluded to, Dallas, Texas, and at this huge watch party, the second President Trump came on screen, the place erupted, just going nuts. And I was like, all right, this is setting the tone for the watch party right now. And it got pretty wild. It was mostly Hoosier fans, although the game it was a little slow in the first half, but obviously it picked up here as well. But
I gotta say something. What did y'all think about the national anthem? I thought it was awesome.
Oh, so good.
I thought you did a fantastic job.
Since I was at the Pistons game, but fill me in.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, man, who was it, Jake? I can't remember who it was, but he was sitting up there, he was looking mighty dapper. I know that much. And then he belted it out and did a fantastic job.
I think Pat McAfee was once famous for saying he had a patriotic, and that's kind of how I think the majority of the crowd was feeling after that national anthem. The Bears guy was amazing too the other night.
Yeah.
I saw him live when they played the Lions, and I was like, wow, This is incredible. But all right, I'm going to keep it between the navigational beacons here and talk a little offensive coordinator. Because I guess that was some big news with the Detroit Lions as of late. We should probably dive into that. Of course, we'll get Kory Woods' perspective on it all, who is the Lions beat reporter for MLive. But Nat, you said it perfectly in the opening, a name nobody was talking about. And I was scrolling Lions Twitter for way too long yesterday, and it seems like vast majority of people, because it's a surprise, combined with some of the more well-known names that were out there, I don't want to say are having a meltdown, but there were maybe the best I could tell, it seemed like people were obviously surprised, but maybe a little underwhelmed. And I don't think that's fair to Drew Petzing, which obviously we'll get into. But your initial reaction, Nat, when you heard the news?
I was shocked. That was my initial reaction, was shock, truly, because we had been tossing different names around for the last couple of weeks. And, it's Mike McDaniel was, of course, the huge one that everyone wanted here in Detroit. And it's like, where is he going to go? What's he going to decide? And then you heard other names tossed around. Mike Kafka got an interview. And then, the guy from Atlanta, Zach Robinson, and just different guys tossed around, right? And I feel like fans are usually in the know when a guy is in the building in Allen Park and getting interviewed. And this was a name that no one had heard. And so as soon as it just came out, like, boom, it was either Tom Pelissero, or I forget who it was that broke the news in the tweet, Ian Rappaport, whoever it was, when it just said Lions have hired their new OC, Drew Petzing. It's like, what? Like, we hadn't even heard this name. And so immediately I'm going into Google. Okay, this guy is from Arizona. Obviously, he was with the Cardinals, but what's his story? I don't really know anything about this guy. So I think immediately for me, it was this shock factor of, obviously, Dan and Brad think very highly of this guy. They claimed they wanted to do an extensive search. And so if they trust that this is the guy, then I guess I have to be on board with that and trust that. But that was my initial reaction to everything. I don't know if you felt the same way, Bradford, but.
Yeah. I think you and I were on Google at the same time.
Yeah. Amongst the millions of other Lions fans.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to check everything out about him and just find out about him. I mean, you go on, you just go on all these different websites, and I just pulled up the Cardinals website just to find out a little bit about him. And he has, NFC North ties via the Minnesota Vikings, but he's definitely worked his way up through the coaching ranks. And I think he's earned the right. Now, he does have a tie to Ben Johnson, and that was all the way back at Boston College. But I'd be willing to scroll back whenever Dan was, Anthony Lynn. Dan took over play calling during that season, let Anthony go after that season. So if we could go back in our archives of our show and pull out the names that we were talking about then, was Ben Johnson. Oh, wait a minute. Our show wasn't available then. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But yeah. But anyway, go. You're like, yeah, okay, I got you.
I'll talk to the people.
What is he talking about? But my thing is was Ben Johnson a name that everybody was considering back then? So you're trying to find a diamond in the rough. Now, he has called plays before, and he did this at Arizona over the previous 3 seasons, I believe. And the thing that you have to know about him is that he is a run-heavy offensive coordinator that likes to mix in the play action and is a tight end because he oversaw the development of Trey McBride, who has come on like gangbusters over the last couple of seasons. And so if you're a tight end, you're just like, hey, I like it. And looking back at this past game with the Bears, talking about how much 3 tight end formations they were using. And, you know, you got to love it. You got to love it. Whether it's an offensive 13 personnel, which is what, Jake?
That's 1 running back and 3 tight ends.
That's right. Exactly.
Damn it, Bradford. You stole my thunder. I had it all ready to go. He's
shopping at the bit, waiting to see it.
13 personnel, people. He loves it. That's 3 tight ends.
That's right. That's right. But it remains to be seen on how he integrates himself with the staff and then with the players as well. It's an interesting pick, but they tried to slip it in, kind of like after the news feed was already said and done, because they knew the national championship game was coming available.
Yeah,
but it hit the Detroit news pretty hard.
No doubt. A little Monday evening news dump. You don't see that one very often, but credit to the Lions for strategically going about it that way. Now, I got a little sidebar anecdote for you guys this morning when I walked in at 105.3 The Fan, the home of the Dallas Cowboys, and we've had Sean Sharif on before. He hosts the morning show. And the first thing they said, let me guess, a Riepma meltdown. Here we go. And I was like, no, I'm okay with the hire. And another co-host from the morning show who was at NFL Network prior to coming over to 105.3 The Fan said he is so well respected in NFL circles, Drew Petzing, that is. And yes, there's the Ben Johnson ties. There's the just overwhelmingly respect component of it all from NFL circles of things that maybe the average fan, and again, it's not to, talk smack or talk down to anybody, like nobody, we're not in those NFL circles to know necessarily how other people around the league view him. And the easiest kind of knee-jerk reaction is to do, Arizona, the Cardinals were terrible this year. But I think that is kind of a disservice to his body of work as a coach and what he can potentially bring to the Lions. So no Riepma meltdown. I'm optimistic. In fact, I kind of like going against the grain because that's how the Lions got here.
You said it best.
Yeah, I think you made a good point, Bradford, about how Ben Johnson wasn't necessarily the most highly coveted guy at the time. And look how he turned out. And look what he was able to do with the Lions. And now look what he's doing with the Bears. I mean, Drew Petzing already has that respect, according to your coworkers too, Jake. And I think that's a really good sign. And I think a few years ago too, there were a few teams that were going after him as trying to get him as a head coach based on the research I was doing too.
Yeah, there was interest in Seattle. Yeah.
Okay.
Seattle, one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that goes to show you right there too, that, he's a name that teams trust, that they'd want, leading their franchise. So I'm about it too. I think the more and more I read about it, you might as well take a chance on a guy like this. And I don't know. I mean, you can't take last year's season with the Cardinals and put that at the forefront and be like, oh, this guy stinks. Like, he had to deal with so many injuries. You look at the injury report from last year as a whole, no wonder the Cardinals had, what were they, 3-14?
Yeah, and the running game was still solid even without James Conner.
Right. But you look at the year prior, in 2024, 7th in rushing, 11th in total offense, 12th in points scored. So not horrible for a group of young guys who are still developing, like Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray. I mean, still pretty good numbers for what he's, been able to work with in the last 3 seasons. So, and that was just specifically 2024. But I don't know. He spoke with Jared Goff on the phone too over the weekend. I don't know if you guys read that. So he's already getting on, everything pretty quickly, trying to make himself at home. So I like that part of it too.
Well, if Jared likes him, I like him. We'll put it that way. But
right. Exactly, Jake. Exactly.
Jared Goff apologists close it out here. Let's keep the conversation going. We'll have Kory Woods on with us, the beat reporter from MLive. We'll get his thoughts on it. And then if there's time, we'll do a little NFC North rundown as well. We're just getting going right here on Live Locked On Lions Squad Show. Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends over at Indeed. All right, it's hiring time. Listen up and listen good. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important the right fit is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Well, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites, because Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. If you need to hire someone, and hey, maybe you need to hire someone from this show, I think people would be lining up at the door to replace me, but go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what you need, that real experience and not just the resume buzzwords. And I don't know why we're trying to replace me, but I just read what's in front of me. Sponsored jobs boost your posts to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a higher than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. Using Indeed sponsored jobs, listeners on this show get $75 in sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves. Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show, saying you heard about Indeed right here on the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Terms and conditions do apply. This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is also brought to you by our good friends at Robinhood. And I don't know where my picture went, but hey, today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. So we'll just go ahead and tell you all about Robinhood, my friends, because it is that time of the year where everybody wants to get off to a good start in 2026. And what if sports were traded like markets? Right now, you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter the most. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. And now I actually take part live in a market powered by people. You no longer are just a spectator. You play by play all during the time. You decide, you trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app right now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risks and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. And we're back right here on a live Locked On Squad show, Locked On Lions Squad show. We love technology when it works, and we love Robinhood, and that's what today's show is all about. Just kidding. Of course, today's show is all about the Lions hiring a new offensive coordinator, and here to help us break it down. We didn't know we were going to be talking about this when we had you on, Kory Woods, joining us live on the Locked On Lions Squad show, Lions beat reporter from MLive and a proud Eastern Michigan graduate and future Wolverine graduate. Am I correct in that? Worked on the master's degree?
Already graduated from U of M. Just graduated last August with my MSW.
Look at that. Congrats,
Blue.
man. That is awesome. So we've got we're pretty well represented here. We got obviously Natalie Kerwin and her Go Green. We don't ever stop hearing about that. We got Bradford Banta.
Kory, it's okay.
Although now Bradford Banta is USC Trojans, also Big Ten, and my Northwestern Wildcats at the basement of the Big Ten. So we're pretty well scattered around the great conference. Although I bet we all wish we were kind of Indiana Hoosiers at this moment. But Kory, yeah, I mean, your reaction when you saw the news that the Lions were hiring Drew Petzing as their next offensive coordinator. We've discussed it a little bit. Most of us were pretty shocked. I mean, you on kind of the inside there, did you hear any potential waves of him becoming the leading candidate?
No, I mean, most of the beat, we were pretty shocked as well from the couple of people that I did talk to when we saw all the names out there. There were like 6 candidates, before Petzing, and he was not one of the names that we heard surface. I even said yesterday that if you would have given me 10 names as candidates for the role, Petzing would not have been on my 10 because he was not a guy that was on the radar. But nonetheless, he's who they picked. And I say that the pick has to work because pretty much Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are hitching their future to Petzing being the guy. And I mean, you just go look at some of the things that he did with the with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs during his time as a wide receivers coach with the Minnesota Vikings. Then his work he did with Jacoby Brissett mainly, Benson, McBride over there in Arizona. It's promising. Probably might not be the most. I guess you can say what word am I looking for? The most noteworthy pick that fans are looking for, but he runs a heavy scheme with tight ends, heavy run scheme, and if the Lions are able to rebuild this offensive line throughout the offseason, it could be a good pick. We've seen that he's been talking to Jared Goff over the weekend. He's also heavy in the play action, which is Jared Goff's bread and butter. So as long as they're able to get that offensive line pick, offensive line straightened out through the draft or free agency, I think it can be a really solid move.
Kory, from your perspective, what do you think is the fairest expectation for him in year one? Because there's going to be high expectations for him to be able to come out strong, especially with how John Morton did this year and the way he, was in and out very quickly.
I think the biggest expectation would be for him to simplify things and be detail-oriented, something that Brad Holmes stated that he wanted, and Dan Campbell in their end-of-season pressers. They need somebody to be a leader and take control of that offense. And one criticism you could probably put on John Morton was that he maybe over-delegated his responsibilities to everybody else. And personally, while some people think this is not that big of a deal, I think with this group, having your offensive coordinator on the sidelines as opposed to being in the sky in the box, that might be a big thing. Because one thing about about Ben Johnson is that when things went to the wayside, you had to come back over there and look right at Brad at Ben. And Ben is, respectfully, Ben is a psycho. So just having, Morton in the box and then David Shaw on the sideline and having, pass back and forth messages, things probably could have gotten lost in communication. You never know. So, and even though people may not necessarily like Dan Campbell's play calling towards the end, it was received well in the locker room based on the situation, because Dan still knows the tempo and the pulse of this offense because it's still his offense. So I think, I think having a guy that is an experienced play caller that's going to be on the sidelines, it could just be at least getting back to the basics for them. And that's really what it is.
Thank you. I was talking about that for the, we brought it up when in the preseason and how things were going to go with Johnny Morton up in the box, and just that sterile environment and not getting a feel for being down on the field, having to look players in the eyes and just, basically either pat them on the back or just rip their ass. One of the two, and it didn't work. And obviously, because midway through the season, he lost his duties. And I tell you what, Kory, it's going to be refreshing sight to see if the Lions can get back to their just their gusto that they had in the 24 season and the 23 season. And I believe that having somebody, and it's going to be Petzing now. So, I'm sure you did the same thing. You Googled him because whenever it came out, you're just like, all right, who's this guy? I know he comes from Arizona. Let me figure it out. Having him there on the sidelines and just being able to communicate, and just as a former player and former coach, it's so key to be able to look the player in the eye and then demand the best out of that individual, instead of getting them on the headset and being like, hey, we got to do this better, or, you know what, great job. This kind of, it's like a voice from above, and it doesn't work.
And I've seen it because I've seen Ben on the sidelines during training camp. I've seen Ben on the sidelines during games. It was a different type of animal with him right there having to report to them. So it just kind of felt like that might have been missing. And the fact that they said leadership and attention to detail, those things came up in the end of season presser when they're talking about the candidate. That was like, okay, this next guy's not going to be in the box. This guy's going to be on the sidelines right there near Dan, or, near the players, making sure that things are corrected in real time and they're able to see and hear his sense of urgency in his voice.
I'll say this. Like, I honestly think that we know things will be going well if we're watching the game on TV and they show a picture of Dan, and Dan has his glasses are nowhere to be seen. That, if his glasses are nowhere to be seen, then I'm like, all right, you know what? Dan feels good about it.
Kory, sometimes I had the tendency, and only sometimes, don't listen to Nat and Bradford if they correct me. Only sometimes I like to play devil's advocate and maybe, not negative, but just other opinions type of ordeal. And, reading, this is what we would always do on the ticket. Some out there are saying, maybe not me, but some are saying that this feels like a smartest man in the room hire, because he wasn't necessarily on any other radars. And the obvious one, the armchair executive that knows everything, wanted Mike McDaniel and everything else. What do you think is kind of the timeline, if there is one, to where Petzing kind of gets the benefit of the doubt in your estimation? Or do you feel like it because of how poorly it went with Morton, that timeline is then condensed? And obviously it can be a different answer from a fan's perspective, and the fan, the pulse, if you will, compared to what actually goes on at the team's headquarters and within the organization. But do you feel like there's a kind of a condensed timeline for it to work because it's a little bit of a off the wall hire?
Do you mean the from inside or like, external fans? Like,
I'll say both, because I think we'll start with inside, because I do think externally fans are like, this better work right now. Like, what do you think the front office thinks, though?
I think the front office is going to give this somewhat of a long leash. Reason why is that this isn't like Morton, when they knew that Ben was leaving, but just how quickly, and him going right to a division rival in the Bears, I think that might have been a little bit jarring. So what they did was they did stick with some familiarity, go back to Morton, somebody that was on the team, who helped write some of those plays. And I think they probably underestimated just how serious this hire was going to be. So I think with them casting a wide net, and then out of all of those names, they did land on Petzing, I think they're going to give this a little bit of a long leash to see how it works. Externally, I'm thinking fans might give this maybe 3 or 4 games just because of how impatient they can be. Because
including the preseason,
including the preseason, that this might
Yeah.
be the most overanalyzed preseason play we've ever seen ever. So, just because fans are desperate for a winner in Detroit, but I think if I had to put a game limit on it, I would for internally, I'd probably say they'll probably give him somewhere around the same leash they gave Morton, probably about 8 or 9 games to see what it's going to look like. And if things are not going right, then hey, we could be in this situation again. But I would think they would give this a long leash, because even if it doesn't work, you don't want the image outside hanging over your head if you have to replace this guy again, that hey, midway through the season, if we don't like it, you're getting stripped of your duties and you're going to be a de facto OC the rest of the way. So I think just off of optics wise, they're going to give it a long leash. And also too, this is only the second time that Dan has had to fire somebody in this position. So Alin didn't work out, fired him. Ben promoted him, left. This time they're actually having to go. He actually had to remove somebody. And one thing we've seen from Dan is when he actually fires somebody, the person they bring in after the firing is usually better. So I think this is going to be I personally believe that after doing a little bit more homework on him, this is definitely going to be better than what happened with Morton.
I got a question for you, Kory. How much conversation you think took place between Dan and Ben before this hire?
That is a question that I've been wondering as well, just off of the fact that there is a relationship between Petzing and Ben, and the fact that they were preparing for the playoffs. Maybe there might have, I don't know if it been maybe an extensive talk, but if I had to guess, I'm pretty sure maybe a text or couple might have been exchanged about, hey, give me some quick thoughts. I mean, these two guys also did work together at Boston College, were groomsmen in each other's weddings. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there was some type of check-in, hey, just give me a little bit of what you know about him if possible. But but knowing Dan, I don't think he probably bothered Ben too much, just because of the lead up to what they were trying to prepare for in the NFC divisional.
Yeah. Okay. I got you, because I definitely think there was some conversation going back and forth.
It had to be,
I mean, because of you got to link everything together and finding out if this guy is the right fit for our organization and our staff and our team.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, and they're still, they call each other really close friends still. So I'm pretty sure there had to be some type of check-in. I mean, heck, we seen there was a check-in between McVay and Ben Johnson heading to that game. So it wouldn't surprise me if Dan was like, hey, what do you know?
Yeah.
Right.
No doubt.
That makes a lot of sense. Kory, did you read that Petzing already gave Jared Goff a call over the weekend just to talk ball?
Yeah, I read that they had a conversation over the weekend, and to me, that is the biggest thing right there, that him and Goff talk, because regardless of what anybody wants to say, this OC pick had to have been signed off by Goff. I'm pretty sure other players, maybe a Panay or a St. Brown to a degree, they may have a voice or an opinion or at the table, but this is a pick that of any player on the team, Goff had to sign off on Petzing being the guy. And again, as we talked about, as I just mentioned, Petzing is really into that play action pass, which is Goff's bread and butter. And if they can get back to that, doing that consistently and efficiently, I still think Goff had a very solid year this past season, even with all the offensive line issues. You can get back to that and repair that line, you're stepping into another year where Goff is keeping that window open.
For sure. Kory, I want to wrap it up with just kind of a quick overview rundown of the NFC North. I mean, just even yesterday with our Lions news, of course, and then you've got the Dolphins hiring the Packers defensive coordinator in Jeff Hafley, and
which should be music to Lions fans' ears.
Yes, exactly. And ask any Bears fans, and they're just, that was just only the beginning that we saw this year. Oh, they're feeling themselves for obvious reasons, and Caleb Williams and the promise that they showed under Ben Johnson. But as and then we'll mention the Vikings too, and JJ in year 2 and everything else. But as you start to look at just how many moving parts there are in the NFC North. Like, this feels like one of those off seasons where, like, buckle up, this division is going to really make some noise this upcoming season. And again, it's early with all the moving parts from yesterday, but how do you see it all, just where the NFC North is at right now?
This is not me being a homer because I'm on the Lions Squad show. I just really believe that this is the setup for really the Lions to return to number one in the North next season, just to be quite honest. They got the last place schedule, which is going to be good for them to be able to bounce back with. They went 9-8 with everything not being perfect. I mean, heck, you win those two last games, you're potentially, I'm not saying they will, but you win those two last games, you got a third straight NFC North title, you're probably playing still, who knows? But I just think that as long as they're able to go ahead and do some reconstruction with those contracts, build that O-line, and I think paying attention to safety in the draft is going to be very paramount for them because of the injuries to Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. Even though Kirby should be good by the time the season starts, that Achilles thing, it's never really great for players after that. So I think they're going to have to look for a safety in the draft. But as long as they nail this offseason, I don't see a reason why the Lions shouldn't be back at number one in the North next year and being another player in the NFC. Packers, I'm not really too sold on just yet. We're going to see what's going to happen with Micah and his injury and how he bounces back. But Packers, I see them having they're a good team. They're well coached. I still see them being in the mix. The Vikings, I think they're probably going to be looking at another last place finish, just off. I'm not sold on J.J. McCarthy just yet. As for the Bears, that's for me is going to be the wild card. They're going to get that first place scheduled. I'm curious to see how they're going to deal with that type of adversity, and if Caleb Williams is going to be able to develop more as a quarterback, because granted, he can make the hero ball, but one thing about Caleb is that he still struggles going through his progressions and making his reads. I mean, yeah, you can blame that one interception at the end on DJ Moore, but I mean, he had Cole Kmet open on the flat where you didn't even really need to go ahead and go throw that pass, in my opinion. So if he doesn't progress as a quarterback and you're dealing with that first place schedule, Bears, it might have been one of those Dan Campbell moments. This may have been our only shot. So, so Bears, I'm seeing them finish somewhere between second and third. Them and Green Bay are going to battle it out for second and third, and Vikings, I got them as another last place finish.
I love it. Well, this has been awesome, Kory. We can't thank you enough for spending some time with us on the Locked On Lions Squad show, especially with the big news this week. We know it's probably a really busy week on the beat.
Yeah, I did not expect that to come that fast, but here we are.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll have to do this again, man. And all the best to you. And thanks so much for hopping on.
Thanks a lot. And I ain't seen Natalie in a minute since they took me off Pistons. So
I know. We miss you over there. You're killing it with the Lions, but Pistons are rolling right now, my guy.
They got me, they got James, and they got Mike out the building, and now they're a playoff team at number one in the East.
I mean, we kind of see what happened there. You had to sacrifice for the Pistons.
Had to sacrifice for the greater good.
I love it. All right.
No, miss you, Kory. Seriously, thank you for hopping on.
Thanks a lot. It was fun.
Thanks, Kory.
There he goes, Kory Woods of MLive, hopping on with us on the Locked On Lions Squad show. That was hilarious at the end. I mean, I feel for him, like he worked so hard covering the Pistons, and then you leave the beat, and now they're really good.
I know. And he was talking about James Edwards, if you guys know him.
Yeah.
He worked for the Athletic for years.
He's covering the Knicks now.
Yes. Right? And the Knicks are falling off, and it's just the whole thing. He's like, really? I leave and this happens? I mean, seriously, it is kind of a trend. Like, as soon as someone leaves the beat, it's when the Pistons start to do well.
Yeah, I totally felt that with I did Lions post game.
Yeah.
I remember doing the post game show after the Lions beat the Packers at Lambeau Field, that final game of the season in week 18. But because I forget, was it Seattle or the Rams? One of them lost like earlier in the day. It didn't matter. So they didn't make the playoffs. And I was just like, man, they're so close. And then I leave, and then they're, Yeah, it was
Seattle. I believe you.
It was Seattle.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah. That was my last Lions post game show. Before locked on.
Dang. All
right, we got a quick break here. We'll do some more stuff when we come back right here on Live Locked On Lions Squad show.
More stuff.
All right, today's Locked On Lions squad show is brought to you by our good friends at Drip Drop. Oh, that's fun. Brought to you by Drip Drop. Here we go. Let's find the Drip Drop. There's the Drip Drop. All right, today's show brought to you by Drip Drop. Kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, my focus, my mood, it all levels up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. The clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, and even that fresh skin glow. Yeah, can't you guys tell? I'm glowing. I've been using Drip Drop as part of my daily routine. It's honestly a game changer, not just for workouts, but every single day. I love that it uses a precise ratio of electrolytes and glucose for rapid absorption, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. They have flexible subscription options, so you're never stuck without it, whether you're hitting the gym, juggling work, or just staying consistent with your goals. And right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use that promo code LOCKEDONNFL. All right, we are back on Alive, Locked On Lions squad show. Killing the game. Thanks to Kory Woods. That was a lot of fun. I think the listeners and viewers should enjoy it. And a lot of good stuff, a lot of good nuggets in there from our good friend Kory Woods.
Yeah. I love having people on. Again, I think it's great to have our guests give us some inside perspective from inside Allen Park. And he was right there with us. He said, we hadn't heard that name either, which I figured they hadn't. Drew Petzing, but I'm glad it, confirmed exactly what we thought, that this was just popped up out of nowhere. So we're all on the same page. We all went to Google. We all did our search, but I think we're all on the same page too, in the sense that, the Lions will give him a little bit of a leash here and we'll see what happens. He's got a good resume on him, and he's got connections here with Hank Fraley, with, just with different teams, of course, with Ben Johnson, but I don't know. I think you have to be on board with it, obviously, because he's here. So I like Kory's perspective on it. I agree with a lot of his points. So
yeah, I agree. I totally agree with it. The one thing that I will say though is, I know we were talking about golf, having a conversation with Petzing over the weekend, and before it was announced. So you're talking about players signing off on it. I would have to say that probably golf was the only player that knew what was going on. You start integrating, more and more people in this choice process, and word starts to get out. So I think Jared was probably the only one that talked to Petzing over the weekend before it was announced.
Yeah, I forget what the Ravens owner said in the same conversation with Lamar Jackson having input on it, and basically said, "Oh yeah, he's got input, just no power." And I'm not insinuating that that's how it is with the Lions, but input versus the power to actually influence is a whole different conversation. But obviously that continuity is huge. I am seeing a lot of comments that are upset with the hire because it's not Mike McDaniel, and the quote or the soundbite that we're all going to go back to of why it wasn't Mike McDaniel. I believe Jeff Darlington reported this on ESPN, that it wasn't the right fit, is what Dan Campbell declared. And that can mean a lot of different things. Bradford, I want to kick it to you first. When an NFL coach says it's not the right fit, that leaves a lot up to interpretation. What in your mind do you think was the disconnect between the Lions, Dan Campbell, and Mike McDaniel?
Look, if you stop and think about it, it's a small league, and it's a small circle of people that are communicating, and with your jobs, as well as I do. And to hear, a lot of stuff is hearsay, but you start hearing things, and for Dan to come out and say it just wasn't the right fit, that tells me that McDaniel could very well be up for another head coaching position. So, and that's his polite way of saying, why are we going to even discuss this if you're going to take another head coaching position? We're just going to cut bait and move on. That's the way I kind of take it. I mean, he's the bright new shiny object that was brought into the building that everybody just adores because of what he's done in the past. But that's how I would take Dan's comments and be like, you know what, he's probably going to get another, and if he's not going to come out and say it because it hasn't, no ink has dried on paper on McDaniel signing a head coaching contract somewhere. But hey, that's probably what's going to happen. And if it doesn't, then the way McDaniel or McDaniel's agent probably presented it, it's that, hey, he's going to be interviewing. We're not saying yes right now because he's interviewing for other head coaching spots. He's not looking to land just an OC spot. He wants HC. He wants the head Chuck. He wants to be the guy again. And we're going to draw this out as long as we can. And as long as he is interviewing with other teams for the head coaching position, we're not going to commit to the offensive coordinator position for the Detroit Lions.
So you think it more came down to him wanting a bigger role, like having the head coaching job somewhere else and not wanting to settle quite yet on being an OC? Like that's your perspective on it? Okay. Because I feel like I kept seeing tweets that said that he was interested in some OC jobs if they were highly like coveted spots, like where he could really thrive better than, like, he'd rather go to a team where he could really thrive as the OC than a team where, I don't know, where it wouldn't be a great head coaching spot. Like I kept seeing tweets about that. Like he was interested in some OC jobs, and I was curious if the Lions were one of those for him.
Yeah, and then another thing that you have to take into account is, okay, let's say the Lions sign him, and then they have great success next season.
Right.
Then okay, his name is going to be thrown out there as a head coaching candidate just because. Right. So you're going through the same process all over again.
Yeah.
And why not have a little bit of stability, and let's say, and I hope he does. I hope Petzing comes in here and does a bang up job.
This was the comment I wanted to throw up there because it is right in line with what we're saying here from Mastrovi. Didn't want a 1-year flash in the pan OC with head coaching ambitions. And he said as much as when Morton was fired. So they're looking for that continuity, that stability, and more sustained success over the course of multiple years. So I think that's worth pointing out as a factor as well.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And, and this is what I wanted to say. You want your off season to be quiet. You don't want any news coming out, good, bad, or indifferent. And they went about this process and they feel like that they have found the right guy for the position. And then on top of that, with Hafley getting hired by the Miami Dolphins, that takes Kelvin Shepherd out of the running for the Miami Dolphins head coaching job. So now you have 2 coordinators, one who's going to be new in the building, who was hired, on January 19th, or was announced on January 19th. And at the same time, January 19th, Hafley was announced as being head coach for the Miami Dolphins. And this was after Shepherd, I believe, had scheduled a second interview with the Dolphins. Did he schedule a second interview?
Yeah, it was in person too. That's why I was shocked at because it was supposed to be Monday morning and then Monday around noon or so. I don't know the exact timeline. The Dolphins are making their announcement of their new head coach. It wasn't Shepard.
Yeah. And so now, come January, yesterday was the 19th, come January 20th, all's quiet in the building.
Yep. Full speed ahead.
Full speed ahead. You're not worrying yourself with trying to find coaches. And you have some other assistant coaches that are interviewing for some, for move up positions, but nothing as important as your OC and DC.
For sure. All right. We got one more segment left. Don't go anywhere. We will tie a bow on it, talk a little more NFC North and everything else, and wrap up a live Locked On Lions Squad show. Hey, today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. All right, it's that time of year. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts, and you can apply those profit boosts to any bets you like the most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day. See what boost you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boost gives you more juice on the bets you already like, instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make you feel that way too. You make your picks, then you apply your profit boost to go even bigger payouts while the playoffs are rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, final segment of the program, little NFC North run around. We started to get into it with Kory Woods, who joined us earlier in today's episode. But this is a wild division that had the Bears make a run this year, the Lions winning the North the previous 2 years, the Packers making the playoffs as a wild card team all of the last 5 years, 5+ years. I'm sure there's a Packers fan that will yell at me for not knowing that exactly, but they're replacing their defensive coordinator and a Vikings team that, coming off 1 year removed of Kevin O'Connell being the NFL's coach of the year. So I think you can make the case that each team probably believes in their own, and it's going to be a fun off season leading up to that. So I prepared some sizzling hot questions for you guys last night that was sent in the group chat. So hopefully, are we prepared for those, by the way?
Yeah.
Bring them out, Jake. Let's
bring
roll
it out. There we go.
Bring them out.
Yeah, that's exactly what
Cue the music.
Yes. All right. Who's the team to beat in the NFC North?
Are we going quick, rapid fire here?
Yeah, we can do some rapid fire. We only have 5 minutes left or so.
All right, yeah. But with a little explanation in there?
Yeah. Whatever you see. It's like the you ever had those English professors, you'd ask, how long should the paper be? And they'd say, whatever you feel does the job correctly. And you're like, come on, give me a word count, lady.
I need an answer. I hate that. So I'm exactly. I can do a paragraph and it's fine.
Yeah. Whatever you think suffices. That's my word today.
I wasn't that kind of student, trust me. I didn't just do the short end of the stick, guys. I was a good student, but
yeah, sure.
Okay, who's the team to beat in the North? I have 2 answers to this. So
Nat, you're killing me.
I know. Okay. Detroit, as long as they address their O-line. As long as they address their O-line and possibly their safety issue too, as Kory mentioned, right? Kirby should be good to go, but Brian Branch, little iffy. As I watched the Chicago Bears and Jaquan Brisker light it up in that game against the Rams. So, but the other part of my answer was the Bears as well. I'm done. Okay, go.
No, what are we doing? You give one. You want to name the Vikings as well in the Lions?
I named 2 out of 4. I'll shut up. Go.
The Packers are in there too. So you go A, B, and C, or E. We can go all of the above. What would you like?
I'm done. I'm taking myself out of this.
Look, I'm saying it's the Bears. They're the Bears because, look, they're the champs. I know they're going to have the number 1 seed scheduling this year, but they are still the NFC North champs. And until otherwise is said, then they're the team to beat.
Yep. Ditto. To be the best, you got to beat the best. And the Bears, unfortunately, they have that. So, all right, next one here.
It's fine.
We love you, Nat.
Love you guys. It's fine. We can have different opinions. All right, next.
Which team regresses the most in 2026? I'm also going to say the Chicago Bears because they're on the mountaintop. They won a lot of one-score games, a lot of come-from-behind games, and the schedule is going to be a little bit different. They're going to find out quickly what it means to play a first-place schedule as opposed to the bottom of the barrel, and they're not going to be pulling out victories out of a hat like they did against some really tough teams like the Cincinnati Bengals, if you recall. And obviously that's laced with sarcasm, but the Bears, give them credit. They won the NFC North, but I think they're cruising for a regress in 2026.
How many teams do you have, Nat?
One. You
Just
go
one?
first. You go first.
All right.
I have one.
I got you. All right, I got you. No, I'm gonna say the Packers. So just simply because they're losing their defensive coordinator. He really seemed like he rejuvenated the defensive side of the ball, which in turn rejuvenated the offense as well, because you're able to give the offense more snaps by causing the opponent to go more 3-and-outs. And the addition of Micah Parsons was key, but his rehab this offseason is going to be essential for the Green Bay Packers and how they bounce back. But also Matt LaFleur and the front office of the Green Bay Packers has to get this pick right for defensive coordinator. Who is that going to be? We don't know, but Hafley seemed to have brought a little stability to that defense to where LaFleur can just concentrate on the offense.
I had Green Bay, so that's it. One answer for those reasons. Got to replace the DC. Got to get it right. So I'll leave it there. All right,
That's
moving
well
on.
I'm proud of us, guys. We are understanding the assignment and just
For right now.
Yeah,
for right
flawlessly executing. I think we're going to save some of these too. We got a long off season, so I think we're going to save some of the burning hot questions because we're going to continue to get into it. I believe on a little tease for Thursday, Nat, we've got a very special guest potentially.
Yes, Eric Woodyard from ESPN.
Look out.
Yeah.
The mothership.
Yes, we
Shout
got
out.
another great guest. So
That's huge. We're just going to keep the guest train rolling. Shout out to Nat coming through in the clutch for that one. And for everybody else, we will talk on Thursday. Nat, any Pistons games? What do we got between today and Thursday?
we do. Pistons play the Pelicans tomorrow night in New
Oh,
Orleans.
yeah. You already said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
Flying all
Are we
over
doing
the place.
Napoleon Dynamite right now?
Yeah.
Good reference. When did Napoleon Dynamite come out?
That was I was young.
Early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I was also young. This is for Jake and I. This is good. This is good trivia for us. But that's a movie I do know. Usually, you guys, for those who may be listening for the first time, Bradford will throw out references, and Jake and I, maybe more than half the time, goes over our head. We do not know what Bradford's talking about, but look at us go on that one.
Vote for Pedro. That's all I got to say.
Yes, Uncle Rico. I can start.
That's good stuff right there. All right, gang. Hey, this was a lot of fun. Thanks to Kory Woods for hopping on with us, and appreciate everybody participating in the chat. If you missed today's live episode, it is available on YouTube, or the audio version. You can be damn sure that that's going to be available too, wherever you get your podcasts. We can't forget that or else. And we will talk to you on Thursday, same time. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Goodbye, everyone.